NDK Chronicles, The Siege of Zone 07. Prologue night covered the lands of NDK City like a dark ocean. Rain poured endlessly over ruined roads, abandoned checkpoints, and broken towers left behind by forgotten wars. The neon lights of old cities flickered through the mist while Alliance banners waved in the cold wind. Deep inside the Eastern Territory stood the heavily fortified headquarters of NDK. The Alliance had survived betrayals. They had survived invasions. They had survived defeat. And now, after rebuilding themselves once again, NDK had become stronger than ever. Massive steel gates surrounded the main territory known as Zone 07. Watchtowers scanned the outer roads while armed guards checked every traveler entering the district. Above the main gate, a large glowing symbol stood proudly, NDK. Inside the headquarters, members moved like a living family. Some trained. Some laughed. Some argued. Some drank. Some planned for war. But tonight would become one of the most important nights in NDK history. Because somewhere in the shadows, an enemy alliance was preparing to erase NDK forever. Chapter 1, The Gathering. The central hall of NDK headquarters was loud as usual. Music echoed from one side of the room while several members gathered around holographic maps in the center. At the head of the command table stood Jeppe. Calm. Focused. Observant. He crossed his arms while studying reports from scouts. 1. Behind him stood Impinoy, the father figure of the alliance, quietly watching everyone with experienced eyes. You look troubled, Impinoy said. Jeppe sighed. Too many enemy movements near the western border. Impinoy nodded slowly. That means they're afraid. Before Jeppe could respond, the massive doors suddenly opened. Zion entered first. She walked confidently toward the command table carrying a stack of reports. Scouts confirmed unknown troops near the abandoned districts, she said. They're hiding their alliance tags. Cowards, Harlequin 63 muttered while leaning against the wall. Nearby, Elida adjusted her glasses. Or strategists, she corrected. Cowards don't organize movements this carefully. Venom ER smirked. The battlefield is like a chessboard, he said. The loudest piece is rarely the king. Here we go again, Zero troops laughed while holding a bottle. Ninja Turtle X burst into laughter. I swear this man never talks normally. Normality is the prison of imagination, Venom ER replied dramatically. Oh my god, Mac LT groaned while laughing. Someone mute him. The room erupted with laughter. Even Jeppe smiled. 2. That was NDK. Even during danger, they still felt like family. At the far corner of the room, Jeppe silently ate noodles while listening. Nobody noticed he had already hacked into enemy communication frequencies from his tablet. ADR-77 walked beside him. What did you find? ADR-77 asked quietly. Jeppe looked up. Something big. That answer alone immediately made ADR-77 serious. Jeppe rarely spoke. When he did, it mattered. At the entrance hallway, Whams 53 suddenly ran into the room barking loudly. Intruder alert! Intruder alert! Everyone turned. Whams 53 slid across the floor dramatically before stopping near Jeppe. I saw suspicious people outside Zone 07. You probably saw delivery workers again, Gomez Michael said calmly. No. These guys smelled evil. Whams 53 barked. You can smell evil? Lord Tommy asked. Yes. Impressive. Also one of them smelled like expired noodles. Definitely evil, Mac LT agreed. The room laughed again. 3. Then the monitors suddenly flickered. The laughter stopped. Every screen inside headquarters turned red. Warning. Unauthorized signal detected. The atmosphere instantly changed. Jeppe stepped forward. Report. Jeppe turned his tablet around. Enemy transmission intercepted. The room became silent. Then the speakers activated. A distorted voice echoed through the hall. NDK, your final night has arrived. The transmission ended. Nobody moved. Then Tippy 69 slowly stood up from his chair. The old man stretched his back. Well, he sighed. Looks like I'll need my good slippers for this war. Chapter 2, Preparations for War. The headquarters transformed overnight. Alarms echoed across Zone 07 while defenses activated one by one. 4. Heavy barricades closed the outer roads. Snipers occupied the towers. Mechanics prepared armored vehicles. Every member of NDK moved with purpose. Gypsy pianist sat inside the communications room playing soft piano melodies while monitoring radio frequencies. Why are you playing music during an emergency? Veronica asked. Gypsy pianist smiled. Because fear spreads faster in silence. Veronica paused. That was actually beautiful. Nearby, Trionyx sharpened combat knives in complete silence. Nobody disturbed him. Not because they feared him. But because everyone knew one thing, if Trionyx started talking during battle, something had already gone very wrong. Outside the vehicle garage, Isho World 09 trained several younger members. His movements were fast and precise. Punch. Kick. Block. Counter. Again, he shouted. The trainees groaned. You're too slow. But we've been training for 3 hours. And the enemy will kill you in 3 seconds. Nobody argued after that. 5. Near the eastern wall, Bear 9 distributed jars of honey. Energy for everybody, he said proudly. Why honey? Hui asked. Because warriors fight better with sweetness in their hearts. That sounds fake. It absolutely is. Everyone laughed. Meanwhile, Lucifer leaned casually beside Ikushin. You know, he said flirtatiously, if we survive this battle maybe you should finally admit I'm handsome. Ikushin rolled her eyes. If we survive this battle maybe I'll throw you off the tower myself. Lucifer grinned. So you do care? Please stop talking. Zion walked past them carrying weapons. You two flirt louder than the alarms. Ikushin nearly choked. We are not flirting. Lucifer smiled proudly. We absolutely are. Ikushin grabbed a nearby helmet and threw it directly at him. Lucifer dodged it easily. See? Passion. 6. At the command center, Jeppe observed tactical maps. RYKD entered carrying intel reports. Enemy forces confirmed near the northern tunnel. How many? Enough to be annoying. That's not a number. It's a feeling. Jeppe sighed. RYKD smirked. I'm kidding. Approximately 300. Harlequin 63 crossed her arms. They're planning a full siege. Elida looked at the map carefully. No, she said. Everyone looked at her. This isn't a siege. She pointed toward several marked locations. It's bait. The room became silent. Venom ER slowly smiled. The hunter wishes to become the shadow, but forgets shadows only exist when light survives. Mac LT stared at him. What does that even mean? 7. Honestly. 0 troops added. I think even Venom doesn't know anymore. Suddenly, the power flickered. Then all lights inside headquarters shut down. Darkness swallowed the building. A single explosion echoed outside. Then another. And another. The siege had begun. Chapter 3, Attack on Zone 07. Sirens screamed through the night. Enemy missiles exploded across the outer defenses while gunfire echoed from every direction. The northern barricade collapsed under heavy artillery. Contact front line. Harlequin 63 shouted. NDK members rushed into defensive positions. Searchlights scanned through smoke and rain while armored vehicles moved across the streets. Jeppe stood near the main gate. Completely calm. Bullets sparked against metal walls around him. Hold formation, he ordered. Enemy troops charged through the smoke. Then Trionyx moved. 8. Fast. Silent. Deadly. One by one, enemy soldiers fell before they even realized he was there. Nobody saw him coming. Nobody saw him leave. He's terrifying, Hui whispered. Yes, Gypsy pianist replied while calmly reloading. That's why I married him. Nearby, Isho World 09 launched himself into close combat. Punches echoed like explosions. One enemy soldier flew directly into a parked vehicle. Who taught you to fight? He shouted. Probably YouTube. Mac LT yelled back. Not good enough. On the rooftops, Veronica and Zion provided sniper support. Left side. Veronica warned. Zion fired instantly. 3 enemies dropped. Nice shot, Veronica said. You too. Below them, Wham's 53 ran through the battlefield wearing tiny combat goggles. Tactical dog incoming. How are you still alive? Ninja Turtle X shouted. I have main character energy. A missile suddenly flew toward the western tower. 9. Move. ADR 77 yelled. The explosion destroyed half the structure. Debris rained across the courtyard. Lord Tommy stepped out of the smoke adjusting his expensive coat. My suit better still look good after this. Gomez Michael glanced at him. You care about fashion during war? Yes. That's actually impressive. At the command center, Juffrin rapidly typed across multiple screens. Enemy communications compromised. What can you do? Jeppe asked. Juffrin looked up. Everything. Moments later, enemy radio channels suddenly erupted into confusion. False retreat orders spread across their ranks. Entire enemy squads began turning against each other. Elida smiled. Remind me never to play chess against Juffrin. Meanwhile, outside the walls, a massive armored carrier approached through the rain. The enemy's main siege vehicle. Its cannons began charging. The ground shook. 10. If that thing fires, Harlequin 63 said, the main gate is gone. Everyone stared at the giant machine. Then Tippy 69 slowly walked forward carrying an old rocket launcher. Jeppe blinked. Where did you get that? Retirement package. That doesn't answer the question. Tippy 69 aimed carefully. The old man smiled. Back in my day, he said, we solved problems personally. Boom. The rocket flew across the battlefield. Direct hit. The siege vehicle exploded into flames. The entire courtyard erupted with cheers. Tippy 69 adjusted his slippers proudly. Still got it. Chapter 4, The Infiltration. Despite NDK's resistance, the enemy continued attacking relentlessly. Wave after wave crashed against Zone 07. But something felt wrong. Too coordinated. Too precise. 11. They know our defense routes, ADR 77 said. Jeppe narrowed his eyes. There's an infiltrator. The realization spread quickly. Somewhere inside Zone 07. Someone was feeding information to the enemy. Suspicion filled the headquarters. Even trusted members became cautious. Wonderful, Zero troops muttered. Now we get betrayal drama too. Venom ER nodded slowly. A knife hidden inside a family cuts deeper than war itself. Mac LT pointed at him. That one actually made sense. Teams spread across headquarters searching for clues. Ikashin and Hui checked the storage wing. Veronica and Gomez Michael secured the communication towers. Lucifer volunteered to protect Ikashin. Nobody asked you, she said. But you didn't reject me either. I literally just did. Inside the underground generator room, RYKD inspected damaged cables. Then he stopped. Someone had recently accessed the maintenance tunnels. 12. Fresh footprints. RYKD immediately contacted Jeppe. Found something underground. Jeppe arrived moments later with Harlequin 63 and ADR 77. The tunnels beneath Zone 07 were dark and narrow. Water dripped from rusted pipes while distant explosions echoed above. Then they heard voices. Enemy voices. There's a hidden route to the command center. Jeppe's expression hardened. The infiltrators were already inside. A firefight erupted instantly. Gunshots flashed through the tunnels. Harlequin 63 pushed forward aggressively while ADR 77 covered the rear. RYKD kicked one enemy directly into a pipe. Underground fighting, he muttered. My favorite hobby. Suddenly, one infiltrator escaped deeper into the tunnels. He's heading for the core room. Jeppe shouted. If the enemy reached the core systems, Zone 07 would completely shut down. The chase began. Above ground, the battle intensified. Enemy troops breached the outer courtyard. 13. NDK members fought desperately to hold the line. Gypsy pianist continued broadcasting comm music through Alliance speakers. You're still playing piano? Veronica shouted. Yes. Why? Because dramatic music improves morale. Oddly enough. It worked. Even exhausted fighters began laughing again. At the southern gate, Bear 9 slammed an enemy soldier with a giant honey container. Sweet dreams. Did you seriously weaponize honey? Hui asked. Yes. Respect. Meanwhile, Wham's 53 suddenly stopped barking. His ears twitched. Then he growled. There's another group entering from the east. How do you know? Lord Tommy asked. I smelled expired noodles again. Nobody questioned him anymore. Chapter 5, The Core Room. Deep underground, Jeppe and the others finally reached the central core chamber. 14. Massive servers surrounded the room. Emergency lights flashed red across the walls. And standing before the control console was the infiltrator. He wore a black tactical mask. You're too late, the infiltrator said. Jeppe raised his weapon. Who sent you? The infiltrator laughed. You think this war is about territory? He activated the console. Suddenly every screen inside the room displayed classified Alliance data. NDK member records. Defense plans. Secret operations. They paid well for your destruction. RYKD narrowed his eyes. So you sold information. I sold survival. Harlequin 63 stepped forward. You betrayed a family for money. The infiltrator smirked. Family doesn't survive wars. Before anyone could react, the infiltrator activated self-destruct charges across the tunnel system. Warning. Core meltdown initiated. The room shook violently. 15. Wonderful, RYKD sighed. Now we're in an action movie. Jeppe immediately rushed toward the console. ADR 77 covered him while Harlequin 63 fought the infiltrator directly. The masked enemy was skilled. Fast. Brutal. Precise. But Harlequin 63 fought like a storm. Every punch echoed through the chamber. Meanwhile, Jeppe attempted to stop the meltdown. Juffrin, he shouted into the comms. I need remote access now. Back at headquarters, Juffrin immediately connected to the core systems. His fingers moved rapidly. Nearby, Elida watched the screens. How fast can you hack this? Juffrin remained silent. Then finally answered, fast enough. The system countdown slowed. But not completely. Charges are still armed, Juffrin warned. At the battlefield outside, NDK continued struggling. Enemy reinforcements kept arriving. Lucifer fought beside Ikashin near the eastern gate. 16. You know, Lucifer said while dodging bullets, this is surprisingly romantic. Ikashin punched an enemy soldier. If you flirt one more time during a war, I'll personally help the enemy. Lucifer grinned. So you'd fight beside me? Ikashin screamed in frustration. Zion nearly laughed while firing from above. Inside the tunnels, Harlequin 63 finally disarmed the infiltrator. The masked man collapsed. Jeppe grabbed him. Who hired you? The infiltrator slowly smiled. Then laughed. You still don't understand. The lights suddenly shut down. And the tunnel doors sealed. The enemy had activated the final phase. Chapter 6, The Fall of the Walls. Above ground, disaster struck. The western wall of Zone 07 exploded inward. Enemy assault units stormed directly into headquarters. Fall back to Central Hall. Zion ordered. 17. NDK members regrouped while protecting civilians and support teams. Smoke filled the corridors. Sparks rained from damaged ceilings. The once proud headquarters now looked like a collapsing fortress. But nobody surrendered. Not a single member. In the middle of the chaos, Empanoy calmly guided injured members toward safety. You first, he told them. What about you? Veronica asked. Empanoy smiled gently. A father leaves last. Those words alone strengthened everyone. At the central staircase, Isho World 09 blocked advancing enemies almost single-handedly. Nobody could pass him. Enemy soldiers rushed forward. He knocked them down one after another. You shall not pass. McLT yelled dramatically. This isn't that movie. Zero troops shouted. It still sounds cool. Meanwhile, gypsy pianists switched from calm piano music to intense battle melodies across the speakers. This soundtrack is getting serious, Hui said. That means the final act is near, gypsy pianist replied. Nearby, Wham's 53 stood proudly atop a broken barricade. 18. NDK forever. A nearby explosion launched him backward. Everyone panicked. Then Wham's 53 slowly stood up again. My tail absorbed the damage. Nobody even questioned physics anymore. At the sealed underground chamber, Jeppe continued trying to reopen the doors. We need to get back up there, ADR-77 said. RYKD examined the systems. The doors are locked from the main server. Then the speakers activated again. The enemy commander finally revealed himself. NDK, his voice echoed across the entire headquarters. You fought well. Monitors suddenly displayed live footage of the battlefield. The enemy army surrounded Zone 07 completely. There is no escape. Jeppe stared silently. Then he smiled slightly. That confused everyone. You made one mistake, Jeppe said. And what mistake is that? 19. You thought NDK survives because of walls. Above ground, the remaining NDK members suddenly regrouped around the central hall. Not in fear. Not in surrender. But together. Family beside family. Shoulder to shoulder. Even exhausted. They still stood. Empanoy looked around proudly. This, he said softly, is why they can never destroy us. Chapter 7, Counterattack. The moment the enemy breached the central hall, everything changed. Now. Harlequin 63 shouted through the comms after finally restoring the underground systems. Suddenly the lights across headquarters activated again. Hidden defenses emerged from walls and ceilings. Automatic turrets opened fire. The enemy forces were caught completely off guard. Juffrin had regained control. Chaos erupted among enemy ranks. Counterattack formations. Zion ordered. NDK moved instantly. Veronica and Gomez Michael secured the upper floors. 20. Lucifer and Ikashin pushed enemies away from the east wing. Bear 9 distributed emergency honey packs like battlefield medicine. How is this still helping? Hui yelled. Don't question the honey. Bear 9 shouted back. Tippy 69 reloaded another rocket launcher. Grandpa's feeling dangerous tonight. You scare me, Lord Tommy admitted. Good. At the center of the battlefield, Isho World 09 challenged the enemy's strongest fighter directly. The duel became legendary. Punches shattered walls. Kicks cracked armor. Nearby members actually stopped briefly just to watch. That's insane, McLT whispered. Remind me never to insult him, Zero troops added. Meanwhile, Venom ER stood dramatically atop a staircase. The storm believes itself eternal, he declared. An enemy soldier blinked. What? Then Venom ER kicked him down the stairs. But even storms kneel before mountains. Okay, that was cool, Ninja Turtle X admitted. Gypsy pianist's battle music grew louder. The morale of NDK skyrocketed. 21. Even wounded members continued fighting. Even frightened members stood their ground. Because this wasn't just a headquarters anymore. It was home. Finally, Jeppe and the underground team returned to the battlefield. The moment NDK members saw him, cheers erupted. Jeppe. The enemy commander appeared through the smoke wearing heavy armor. So the leader returns. Jeppe walked forward calmly. Rain poured through the destroyed ceiling above them. Around both leaders, the battlefield slowly stopped. Everyone watched. The commander laughed. You built a strong alliance. Jeppe answered quietly. No, he looked toward his members. We built a family. The commander charged. The final battle began. 22. Chapter 8, NDK Forever. The clash between Jeppe and the enemy commander shook the ruined hall. Both leaders fought fiercely. The commander relied on brute force. Jeppe relied on precision. Around them, NDK members continued protecting one another. Nobody fought alone. That was their strength. Zion protected Veronica. Trionyx silently eliminated threats before they reached Gypsy Pianist. Lucifer shielded Ikashin during explosions. Ikashin pretended not to notice. Impanoi continued helping the injured despite the danger. Even Wham's 53 dragged ammunition boxes across the battlefield while barking motivational speeches. You got this, humans. At one point, Bear 9 actually placed honey on Wham's 53's head for morale. Nobody understood anything anymore. Then the enemy commander gained the advantage. He knocked Jeppe backward across the hall. Several members tried to help. Jeppe stopped them. No. 23. He slowly stood again. The commander laughed. You still think you can win? Jeppe looked around the damaged headquarters. At his friends. At his family. At the people who refused to abandon one another. Then he answered, we already did. The commander attacked again. But this time, NDK moved together. Harlequin 63 intercepted the strike. Zion provided cover fire. ADR 77 disrupted the commander's movements. Isho World 09 landed a devastating punch. Even Tippy 69 fired another rocket nearby, screaming, for my slippers. The commander finally collapsed. Silence filled the ruined headquarters. Then the remaining enemy forces began retreating. The siege was over. NDK had survived. Again. Slowly. Cheers erupted across Zone 07. Exhausted members laughed, shouted, and embraced one another. 24. Some collapsed from relief. Some simply stared at the sunrise beginning to appear beyond the broken walls. The rain finally stopped. Golden morning light entered the ruined headquarters. Jeppe stood quietly beside Impanoi. We lost half the walls, Harlequin 63 said. We'll rebuild, Zion answered immediately. We always do, Ikashin added. Gypsy Pianist softly began playing piano again through the speakers. This time. Peaceful music. Lucifer sat beside Ikashin. You know, he said quietly, you looked amazing during battle. Ikashin sighed. You survived a war and still flirt. Dedication. She shook her head but smiled slightly. Nearby, Wham's 53 proudly stood atop rubble. I helped save NDK. You absolutely did, Veronica replied. Does this make me commander now? No, everybody answered instantly. The entire hall burst into laughter. Even Trionyx smiled very slightly. 25. Very slightly. Juffrin quietly repaired communication systems while ADR 77 assisted him. Elida and Venomy argued about strategy philosophy again. MacLT told terrible jokes. Zero troops laughed too loudly. Bear 9 distributed victory honey. Lord Tommy somehow still looked fashionable despite the destruction. RYKD sarcastically complained while helping repairs. Hui organized supplies. Ninja Turtle X celebrated like the war was a party. And above them all, the NDK banner still stood proudly. Damaged. Burned. But standing. Because NDK was never built from steel. Not from walls. Not from weapons. Not from territory. It was built from loyalty. From resilience. From people who chose to stay beside one another even when the world around them collapsed. As the sun rose higher above Zone 07, Jeppe looked toward his alliance. His family. And for the first time that night, he finally allowed himself to relax. The war was over. But the story of NDK would continue. Forever. 26. Epilogue. Several days later, reconstruction of Zone 07 had already begun. The damaged walls were being repaired. New defenses were installed. Fresh banners hung across the district. Life slowly returned to normal. Well, normal for NDK. Which mostly meant chaos. MacLT and Zero troops argued over who ate the last emergency noodles. Venomy gave philosophical speeches to confused construction workers. Lucifer continued unsuccessfully flirting with Ikashin. Tippy 69 somehow acquired even more rocket launchers. Nobody asked questions anymore. Inside the rebuilt central hall, Jeppe gathered everyone once again. The atmosphere felt warm. Comfortable. Alive. Impanoi looked around proudly at the alliance. You all did well. Those simple words meant everything. Zion smiled. We protected our home. No, Impanoi corrected gently. You protected each other. Silence filled the hall. 27. Then slowly. Everyone smiled. Because deep down, they all knew it was true. NDK was more than an alliance. It was a family that survived every storm together. And no matter how many wars came in the future, No matter how many enemies rose against them. No matter how difficult the road ahead became. NDK would endure. Together. Always. The end.